You're listening to the Center of Symmetry podcast. I'm here with Megan from Healthforce, and Center of Symmetry carries quite a bit of your products. What exactly is Healthforce and what do they provide?
It's a nutritional supplement line. So it's basically just really high quality, nutrient dense raw foods. They also make some supplements specifically geared at, say, the liver or getting rid of parasites. But for the most part, they look at all of their products as food that's just very nutrient dense and really uniquely supportive.
And what kind of form does it come in?
Powders and capsules.
How do most people use your product?
Many different ways, really. Some people put it with fresh vegetable juice. Some people put it with fruit smoothies, bottled juice, coconut water. I tend to mix mine up in coconut water and unsweetened almond milk and sometimes spike it with a little flavored stevia. But I think that's typically how people will use them.
Of course, Symmetry uses it in their juices in smoothies, right?
Yeah, the juice bar. Yeah, they throw it in a couple different things.
Okay, I understand that a lot of this is gluten-free.
Yeah, actually the entire company is gluten-free, raw, and vegan. So those three bases are pretty much covered in the entire company. Two other things that really set it apart are, first, they have a standard called True Organic. I think a lot of us are familiar with USDA organic, and we tend to trust that and say, oh, okay, it's not gonna have the pesticides, it's gonna be cleaner, which is true, but what a lot of people don't realize is that USDA organic standards do allow 2 pesticides. They're not clean, they're still toxic. And so the Healthforce True Organic standard allows absolutely 0 pesticides, and they do test for over 150 different pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides to make sure there's none in there. Because they have actually ordered USDA organic raw material to make their products, and it's tested positive for pesticide residue, and that's not okay with them. Yeah, they have relationships with different farmers, and I know the farmer that grows, like, I think the wheatgrass and the dandelion and some things like that near them in California. Like, they have really close relationships because they have really exacting standards. And so where they are physically close to a farmer, of course, they'll go visit them, they'll go look at the fields and, be in communication. Maybe surprise visits, but be in communication with them a lot. Right. Just to make sure that it's to the standard they want.
Okay, what's your biggest seller?
Overall, as far as Healthforce, the company, Vitamin Earl Green is for sure the top seller.
And what is that?
It's a super green food, and it's full of nutrient-dense green foods, most of which you're not going to find in the produce aisle. It's 25% spirulina, it's 25% chlorella, so that makes up half of it. Those are superfood algae. Their weight is 50 to 65% protein, but they're also, of course, green, so they're super alkalizing, detoxifying, energizing. So the other 50% of Vitamin Earl Green is like wheatgrass, barley grass, alfalfa. There's also a lot of seaweeds and different superfoods in that. So the way I look at it is as a multivitamin. There's no isolated vitamins or minerals or nutrients in it. It's just all food, but it's incredibly nutrient dense food and gives you this instant pick-me-up and sustains you for hours.
Okay. Now you've used the word superfoods. What does that mean exactly?
To me, that means, on the one hand, foods that are nutrient dense, but also foods that have a peculiar action in the body. A good example of this, I think, would be maca. It is a vegetable. It looks very much like a beet.
Where does it come from?
It's native to Peru.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it grows actually higher up in the mountains, where the climate's a little bit harsher, a little colder. And a lot of times we find plants that grow in harsher climates tend to be what we call adaptogens, which means that they actually help us adapt to stress. So whatever they had to do to grow in that harsher climate, they actually impart to us.
So mountain people aren't stressed out.
Mountain vegetables aren't stressed out.
Oh.
Yeah, maca does tend to have an awesome effect on our adrenal glands, really supports it, nourishes them. It also helps us with energy and stress, so it helps us adapt to stress. That's what the word adaptogen means, and gives us energy. But maca also really balances hormones, can help with fertility, and is even a libido booster. And it actually has plant sterols that help build muscle. So when I say superfood, I mean something that's really peculiar and, in maca's case, really focused on energy in your adrenals.
Okay. Let's talk about lucuma powder.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of another buzzword I've heard. So
Yeah.
tell me what that is and what it does.
Okay, so lucuma powder is also native to Peru, just like maca. It is a fruit. It's a yellow-orange, kind of pulpy fleshed fruit. It is sweet. It's rich in antioxidants, but it also has a low glycemic index and a very low glycemic load. Glycemic load just factors in fiber. And historically in Peru, they've actually, in archaeological digs, found pottery, old Peruvian pottery, that had the lucuma fruit on it. So it was actually a highly valued fruit. It was called the gold of the Incas. And just it has kind of like a maple-like flavor, so it's a really popular raw sweetener. A lot of companies have it, they'll take the fruit and powder it and dry it at really low temperatures so it's still raw. A company that does this is Navitas Naturals, and so it's a very popular raw food to put into like ice creams, desserts, different things where you want it sweet but you don't want it to spike your blood sugar. And actually I found out lucuma on its own is a really popular ice cream flavor in many countries, where actually more popular than either vanilla or chocolate because it has this nice mapley flavor.
One of the bottles, I had read that it said that your product was food for Aztec warriors.
Warrior Food is a phenomenal protein powder. It's completely vegan, it's raw. It actually protects your kidneys from the large amount of protein, because protein of any form is a little bit of a burden on the kidneys. So it just covers all the bases there.
If someone wants to use your product in a practical daily American life, how do they usually do it?
The way that I usually do it is in a shaker jar. So a lot of people have these, if you do protein powder, it's just like a little plastic kind of jar with a little metal spiral ball in it and a lid that you kind of screw on and clamp down. The little metal ball is in there to break up any clumps that might be in the protein powder or the green powder. But that, for me, pans out really well. Like I said earlier, I like to do unsweetened almond milk and coconut water, add a little bit of stevia. So that's personally how I do it. My roommate makes a smoothie every morning, a fruit smoothie, and then she'll add usually Vitamin Mineral Green or one of the elite green proteins, and it totally changes her day. And so she's gotten into the habit of just making a smoothie every morning for breakfast, and then the rest of her day is just goes much better, because she went for like a week or two without it, and then just recently said to me, like, I've got to get back to doing the smoothie. It totally makes a difference. So I would say the typical American lifestyle, those are good. And also, since we do have several different products that I like eating on a daily basis, what I do is I get out my trusty mason jar and I mix them. So I'll take Warrior Food, which is a plant-based protein that is sprouted brown rice and hemp, and then I'll put either the vanilla or chocolate into a jar, and then I'll take the elite green protein, another plant-based protein, but it's spirulina and chlorella, so it's bright green. Very different action in the body, very energizing. So I'll combine those two in some sort of matching flavors, whether it's vanilla and mint or vanilla and ginger, or today I did chocolate and ginger. And then I usually get the maca and I add it in there too. They have a vanilla ginger flavor, so it works really well. And so I'll mix those three together, maybe with a little Vitamin Mineral Green, shake it up with my tablespoon in it, and I just cart it around with me. And when I am hungry, then I just have a shaker of that. And it serves me really well.